to the Pulse with Willie and Al. This is our episode 10. We're at it again episode. We did it. We hit double digits, bud.
Hey, we did it.
Yeah, very happy to be back again. So we got some fun things to discuss today. We're going to be jumping into two games in week 4 that really stand out to us and some big things that I think we'll address in both of them to really dive in on. So first game we've got here is Miami at Buffalo. Very interesting game here with Buffalo getting 2.5 points. The over-under is 53.5, which is crazy for an NFL game. But, Miami could have handled that just themselves last week. So I think this is going to be an awesome game to watch. It's a game of weapons. When I think about that, like, it almost reminds me of a Game of Thrones episode with, like, all the stars showing up, right? So what are some big things you're thinking about in terms of this game?
Disclaimer real quick. I think I'm the one person in the entire planet that can say this. I've only ever watched the first season of Game of Thrones. You know what you want about that? I just never got past season 1.
Yeah,
that's what I keep saying. That's what everybody says.
Eventually you'll get to the point. So let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and start then. So, like, Miami's got the high flying offense, right? Like, they're coming in. We saw what they could do last week. We dove into that on our previous episode, and you were able to see, them in full. Well, kind of like half Chubb, right? They were missing Waddle.
Yeah, because they didn't have Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, so you were able to see like a lot of what they were able to do, even missing one of their stars. So I was looking at it. They're averaging 552 yards per game. That's absolutely insane for a football team in the NFL. So what is it like? What are the limits of this, and can they keep this up?
I mean, they seem like a team that's honestly 2 of the 3 games they've played were just shootouts.
Right.
Well, no, I'm sorry, that's not entirely true. Denver didn't shoot. Like, they scored 20 points, which is great. But, like, again, when you're scoring 70, of course you're putting up all those yards. Yeah, they're just a team right now offensively. They've just got all the weapons. Like, when you have 2 dudes in Waddle and Hill, like, and with the running game they have, like, they're really, like, it's hard to stop. And with Tua, he's looked great. He's not making those really bad decisions. He's not taking a lot of hits, which is good. And I think that continues this week with Buffalo, who I don't know defensively that I'm really worried about. They're an all right defense, but, like, respectfully, they played Washington and this past week, which that doesn't really count. Like, I'm sorry, like, it just doesn't. Like,
Washington.
No, they're not. Like, I'm counting down to the days till Ron Rivera gets fired. So cannot wait. But yeah, that being said, I think that, like, Miami, it's just offensively right now, I don't know how you stop them, especially when they're running the ball the way they are. Like, forget like, then you have, because the thing that worries me with them is, or worries me with Buffalo, is, like, if Miami can just keep running the ball the way they're doing, they have to put guys in the box and keep them honest. And then that just means Tyreek Hill's 1-on-1 and Jalen Waddle's 1-on-1. And then what do? Like, forget it.
I think that's kind of the crazy thing when you think about it too. Like, you look back to some of the great teams in, like, the 2000s, right? Like, and I'm very partial to the Colts and Manning, but you were able to kind of take that take Manning out of the game by running the ball, right? Like, you ran the ball, you milked the clock, you kept him off the field, you shortened the amount of possessions he was going to get in the game, and you had a better chance of being able to beat him. And now my concern is with Miami. You could talk about trying to take Tyreek Hill away, and they've done that in one game, right, against New England. Like, he didn't have a great game, but they put Christian Gonzalez on him for quite a few plays and stuff. He was able to shut down most of that, same way he kind of did last week with Garrett Wilson. But my thing of it is Mike McDaniel is such a creative coach that you're just, even if you take something away, he finds another way to go. And that's my concern, at least with this Miami team, is I don't know where you start or finish with them, right? Like, it's offensively, they're just so creative. I'm not sure we've seen a team like this before.
I agree. I think too with Miami is that they can score quickly. Like, you can't, the thing is like, if you leave them any time on the clock, they're such a home run threat that, like, it's one play. They can score in one play.
Right.
And you've watched him do it a bunch this year, and that's my fear with Buffalo is even if Buffalo keeps this close, like and Tua has shown this year that when the chips are down, he can lead the team down the field and drive them for a touchdown. Like he is capable of that, and that's something that I don't think that he was capable of his first couple of years in the league. Is now that you have to respect him more. And if he is down late, like I do believe there's a world where he can come back, and I actually believe it. Is he in that like Mahomes Burrow echelon yet? No, but like I think that he has a pretty good chance. When I see him driving down the field for a game-winning score, I'm like, oh, I bet you he's probably going to get this. Like,
Yeah, I'm definitely a Tua fan this year. I was last year. You know, it kind of was tough to see him get hurt the way he did, but I love to see him bounce back the way he has this year, and he looks very, very good right now. Like that's the other piece of it. I don't know. He's getting the ball out so quickly, and his reads, the way he's able to make them, he's so accurate with that I don't feel like he's making a ton of mistakes. And even if he does, with as fast as they can score points, it actually affords him an opportunity to make more mistakes. He's just not making them right now. My
yeah,
my big concern though with this team is their defense because they're giving up almost 400 yards per game, and that's just not sustainable, right? You can do that against certain teams when your offense is putting up 50 points a game or 70 points a game, but when you start playing against good defensive teams, which looking at their schedule, they're eventually going to get into that. It's a concerning thing for me. And right now we've seen Mike McDaniels the way he's outcoached teams in Denver and the Chargers, right? That I don't think that's a big accolade for him. Obviously, he put a whooping on Denver last week, but what he did in week 1 against the Chargers was just Brandon Staley doing Brandon Staley things and Mike McDaniels taking advantage of that. I didn't see so much out coaching when it came to New England, but is he going to be able to do that against Sean McDermott? That's my question.
I think so. I do think this is going to be a really good test for them because I think this is honestly the best team that they've played so far. And it's no offense to the Chargers, who are an okay team, and the Patriots, which they're fine. Like they're the great defense. And then there's Denver, who I think is an NFL team still. I'm not sure at this point.
They're bumping them down.
But yeah, they're relegating them. Actually, they're gonna just call up some dudes from the XFL. Call it a day.
Did you hear? They're gonna have Dion actually called them up. They're gonna play a game this weekend.
Great,
Yeah.
great. I'd rather watch Colorado get smashed than Denver again. But I do think this is going to be their biggest test to date. I think this is going to show if they're a legitimate team because Buffalo has aspirations as well for the Super Bowl this year. You know, they've had some really tough playoff losses the last couple of years, and this feels like for Buffalo as well. This is a Super Bowl or bust year for them. So I really think, and this is a good road test for them too. So I'm really curious to see.
It's felt that way the last couple years for Buffalo, right? Like as I look at this team with I just have this image ingrained in my head of Stephon Diggs standing on the sideline, watching another team celebrating and seeing that. It's crushing to me because I know he's a great player.
Yeah.
It's tough to see them going through that in Buffalo. I feel like this could be a great year for them, especially with Cincinnati not off to a great start. I feel like the rest of the AFC that we thought was going to be very strong is starting to kind of wither, but they still need to prove that they can get past Miami. We had talked yesterday about the game that they had with Miami last year and how they smacked them in the mouth. I don't know if this is going to be the same thing this year. I really don't know. Look, it looks like I'm in a tornado back here right now. It's just very
well. If you blow away at any moment, I'll record the rest of this and it'll be fine, and we'll just edit you in later. You know,
right? But on real talk, I look at this and I think Buffalo's got the firepower to be able to deal with Miami and keep up with them. I just don't know if they can be as consistent doing it. Not with the way Josh Allen has been playing. He's almost like a Brandon Staley as a quarterback. The way he plays the game, he's very risky, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big Josh Allen fan. I love him. He just turns the ball over too much. And if he's able to clean that up, you're going to see much different results for him going forward and them not being in close games with people. I feel if he can play turnover-free football and the defense can continue doing what they've done the last couple of years in Buffalo, this is a team that should be blowing teams out 35-10 every week.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh Allen needs to play essentially a perfect game because I think this game is going to turn into a track meet again. And if Josh Allen keeps throwing those end zone picks, like they're doomed. They're doomed because Miami's going to score early and often, and I don't necessarily know if Buffalo can run the ball well enough to keep Miami off the field. And I think that's going to be a big part of that. If Buffalo can control the clock, and I know this is so cliche, but like if Buffalo can control the clock by running the ball, having those 6, 7, 8 minute drives, like, and really limiting Tua and the offense's chances, like I think there's a world they can stick around. But even then, like you're going to need touchdowns against this team. You can't keep settling for field goals. You can't. And that's been kind of the staple of the Buffalo offense. And if you really look at that box score against Washington, they had a lot of field goals. Like they stalled out a lot of inside the 20 and couldn't capitalize. And that's great against a team like Washington or like Vegas, where you can do that. But a team against Miami, like the math's just going to catch up with you. It's sad to say, but
I think you're right. They need to run the ball effectively. Right now they're averaging about $150 a game, and that's definitely good. But I need to see James Cook really step up this game and establish himself as a great runner. And maybe that's going to happen. My concern is that if Buffalo doesn't set the tone and march down the field as soon as they get the ball and score a touchdown, not even kick a field goal like you had mentioned there. They need to score a touchdown and set the tone of this game, because if they get behind 14-0, I don't like the chances of Josh Allen dropping back and doing that. Now, they can stay in the game. Don't get me wrong. Gabe Davis can stretch the field. He's good for a few deep balls a game, and I get that piece of it, but the way Buffalo plays is not let's air it out and have a Tyreek Hill. They don't have someone like that on their team. Yeah. Stephon Diggs is a great receiver. I love him. I love the way he plays the game, but he's not Tyreek Hill. No team in the NFL has a Tyreek Hill. So that's a big concern for me. And the other piece of it, too, is I'm still reminded of that week 1 loss to the Jets. That was very, very bad. And this was after, think about it, this was after Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. That game should have been theirs for the taking, and it was just, frankly, it was embarrassing that they weren't able to finish that game. It does not give me a good feeling going forward about them, because, like, they haven't played anybody. They haven't played anybody for me to be like, all right, that's a marquee win that they needed. I'm confident in them going forward. And I just don't.
Yeah.
If Miami, like you had mentioned before, Al, if Miami gets going, who can stop this team? They don't have Von Miller.
Yeah.
They're not. If they're rushing the passer, they're using someone else other than Von Miller. But there is no replacement to Von Miller, right?
Yeah, their best pass rushers, who? Ed Oliver? Like, that's like, I mean, come on. Like, and to go back to your point about Buffalo needing to punch him in the mouth early, like what I think they got to do is, honestly, like if they win the toss, I know a lot of teams elect to defer to the second half. They have to actually, if I'm them, they got to receive the ball.
Yeah.
They got to receive the ball first, and they got to just go right in and march it down their throats.
Yeah.
Like, you got to establish that dominance with them early, and I think it'll be a real test. Like,
a good long drive right at the beginning there, where they're able to really establish themselves. I'm thinking like 7.5, 8 minutes. You milk a lot of the first quarter, right? And as you go down, you're physical. You run the ball hard. If you need 3 downs to get that first down, you do it, right? But they need to be able to come out and be very physical and push Miami around in order to win this game. That's my opinion on it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what concerns me with Buffalo too is they do have some injuries to their line this week that I don't love. Ryan Bates questionable with the ankle.
Yeah.
Like that's a little worrisome. I just don't love what I have seen so far from their offensive line.
Yeah. It's definitely concerning with that, and even looking forward to, like, injuries play a huge part in this, not only this week but in weeks going forward. I'm looking, Miami, they go after this game, they play the Giants, Carolina, Philly, New England, Kansas City. And I mean, we could be talking about two 6-0 teams meeting in week 7 in Philly. That could
Yeah.
be that could be an incredible matchup for me. Like, you're going to play two of the best teams in the league. I'm sorry, three of the best teams in the league over the next 6 weeks, right? In
Yeah.
Philly, Kansas City, and Buffalo. So you're really getting. This is where we're going to find out what Miami's made of. You can beat up on the little guys in Denver. I get that. They had an awful game. Denver just played terrible against them. But what do you do when you're playing against the big boys in the division? Because this isn't the last time they're going to see Buffalo, and there's a chance that if they get beat in this game, that they're going to have to go to Buffalo to be able to go through the playoffs, and that's scary.
And we talked about this too in our last episode. Miami winning this game is huge for them because that already gives them a 2-game lead in the division.
Right.
Like and I think winning the division is really going to matter this year. And there is only one bye now for the playoffs. Like, and that bye it's so important. It's more important than ever to get that. Like, that extra week rest, I think would be huge. So, like, it's really imperative, I think, for Miami that they come out and win this game, because again, getting a 2-game lead early, like, that sets the tone, and it says, like, hey, if you're going to win the division, it runs through us.
Yeah.
Like,
if you want a shot at the Super Bowl, you got to come through us to be able to get there. I definitely agree with that. And just looking at it on the other side, Buffalo here, they're playing Jacksonville, the Giants, New England, Tampa Bay, and Cincinnati. So tough defenses, good coaches. Maybe Burrow's back and healthy by the time they play Cincinnati. You've got a Jacksonville team that's been punched in the mouth by Houston. They're going to come out. They're going to be aggressive. And I'll tell you, if Buffalo gets blown out by Miami this week, Jacksonville is going to be licking their chops waiting to play this team. They could run them over. It could be.
I disagree on Jacksonville. I'm on the camp that I just don't think they're good this year.
Huh?
I don't.
Okay.
That Texans loss, I know we talked about it briefly, but like, that Texans loss was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like,
there's nothing really good to say about that, right? It's just a tough loss to be able to go through.
Yeah.
Okay. So
what do you have for a prediction for this game?
Ooh, yeah. Here I was ready to move right on. I'm not even going to give you my score. So I have Miami winning this 34-27.
I think Miami's going to win this as well. I have this almost a similar score to you. I think it's Miami 34, Buffalo 24. I think that, like, points, Josh Allen is going to do some Josh Allen things, and he's going to throw a couple picks. And I think that they're just not going to be able to match him possession for possession. Especially my last thing with Buffalo is, like, offensively, you can kind of see it. Like, when Diggs is, like, covered, a lot of times they just don't know what to do offensively after that. And and you can't afford to go 3-and-out against this team.
No, you
just can't.
You gotta tire out that defense on the other side, and that's the worst thing is if they're fresh, because this Miami team on offense, they don't need rest. They don't. They just keep going out and putting up points. They could play all day.
They're track stars.
They remind me a little bit of, like, how Oregon was in college, where, like, they would just keep running play after play after play, and it's just you can't stop it. It's too fast, too quick. So the next game that we have here on the slate we want to talk about is Baltimore at Cleveland, and this is also an interesting game in the sense that I feel like Cleveland's not a team that I really like to talk about, but they've made people have to talk about them because of how they've played so far. And the Browns are getting 2.5 points at home. The over-under's 41. Just to start with Baltimore, this is not the team that I was expecting this year. Definitely not.
Yeah. I think with Baltimore, I feel like every year we talk about Baltimore, and it's always, oh man, injuries. They just keep getting hit with injuries. And I'm like, at some point, like, maybe make sure you have more depth. Like, and
or
then
a better training staff, right? Like, maybe there's an issue in there.
Yeah. Like, like if you just look at the injury report for Baltimore this week, like in our notes, I was going to type out every one of them. Then I was like, this list is so long. I don't have time to type this all out. Like it's half their team. Like all of their running backs are either on IR or questionable this week.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Which almost brings up the thought, and now this is kind of interesting because this was the team that got beat in overtime by Indy, but it also raises the thought that maybe, just maybe, they go after Jonathan Taylor. I don't know. Maybe that's not something that's in the cards for them, but I could see a team that runs the ball as much as Baltimore does. I could see them go after a guy like Jonathan Taylor. I just what any
Yeah.
thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, they're going to need to do something at running back because with Dobbins out for the season, like you can clearly tell, and it was evident in that Indianapolis game, like they just couldn't sustain drives with running the football. They just couldn't do it. Like, and that's I think that's going to be a real issue with them going forward until they either get somebody like Taylor or they get healthy. And I don't see them getting healthy. So I think like Taylor might be your best bet. But even if you get Taylor, like he's got the ankle issue, like how good is he going to be really? Like he missed camp, like he's missing potentially the first 5 weeks of the season. But what do you?
Yeah,
I
it's
think that he's the answer, but like how much of that is he really going to fix?
I just don't know if he's going to be back in Indy and stuff. And just talking about Baltimore and stuff, it's frustrating for me because I think they could use him. I don't think they re-signed Dobbins. I think at that point we've seen the Dobbins experiment. This guy can't stay healthy. Signing him to
Yeah.
a long-term deal does not make any sense. And Eric DeCosta is not a dumb guy. He doesn't stay in that position as GM for if you're not
Yeah.
making good decisions. He's very smart about stuff like that. I believe they let Dobbins go. Whether they cut him after in the off season, but I just don't see them giving him a long term deal. He just can't stay healthy, man. They got to figure that piece of it out.
I think best case scenario, I think there's a world where they do keep him, but they just tag him. They just franchise tag him.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's that good.
I don't think he is either, but like that way you can kind of see what you're going to get from him for another year
I guess
without really committing.
I'd have to probably take a look at their books to kind of see who else is up. Because if you see Humphrey or Williams up, I would tag them ahead of him. I just don't see him
Oh
as
yeah.
a top five guy. I don't want to pay him that money. I don't want to pay him 12 million. He's not worth it, man. The guy can't
No.
stay healthy. He complains,
Especially coming off an
like,
Achilles injury too.
Yeah,
That's the worst kind of injury to come
it's
off
just,
of.
and it's nothing bad about J.K. Dobbins. It just in this league, it's a league of attrition. You have to try to stay healthy or at least as healthy as possible, right? It's
Yeah.
I don't know. My big issue with Baltimore isn't necessarily the injuries, but just this whole kind of facade. We were led to believe that Todd Monken coming in was going to change and provide this new look offense for the Ravens. We were promised like the Chargers offensive firepower, and we ended up with what the Bears should have been. It's same Lamar, same playmakers not making plays, new playmakers not making plays. The only bright spot that I see in terms of their offense is Zay Flowers. He is awesome. He is awesome. Lamar and him have great rapport, but he's not a do-it-all guy. He's not a number one receiver.
No, he can be your second best receiver on a really good team, but he can never be your number one guy.
But
I just don't think he could handle that.
But this is the thing. What we were sold before the year started was OBJ is going to be there, Rashad Bateman's going to be healthy, Zay Flowers is going to run out of the slot, and Mark Andrews is going to be there. This team is going to be unstoppable, and they look terrible. They look terrible.
If you remember at the beginning of the year when we did our preview episode, like I didn't have Baltimore making the playoffs because I just have heard the same thing year after year with Baltimore. They're like, we've got playmakers this year. It's never the case. Like either they get hurt or they just like they suck. Like I just don't have it with I just don't see it with them this year. But in that same breath, I do see it with Cleveland. Like say what you want about Baltimore offensively. Cleveland doesn't have to do a ton offensively because they have such a good defense.
Well,
Let's talk about Cleveland's defense for a minute because
well, before we
good
get into
Lord.
that, I just wanted to mention one last little thing about that because the interesting piece about it is Cleveland and Baltimore, I think, are very similar in terms of the way they play. Both teams are pretty much identical in terms of how they go about offense. But the big
Yeah.
difference between these two teams, like you just mentioned, is the defense, man. And this is Cleveland they've got the number one defense in the NFL. They've given up the fewest points. It is what I love about them is they don't have crazy good stats right now. Right? Okay, so they've given up the least amount of points in the season. They have 9 sacks, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery. That's it. If I told you about a number one defense in the NFL, you would expect, oh, they probably have about 15, 16 sacks, six interceptions around there, and maybe 2 or 3 fumble recoveries, and a couple touchdowns on defense. This team, the thing that I love about them is it's not that they're crushing you on defense. They are just strangling you to death. And it's amazing. It's boring to watch, but it's amazing in the way that they do it.
What it really boils down to me is them having Jim Schwartz as their defensive coordinator has really made a difference this year. And honestly, like and I never thought I would say this about Jim Schwartz as a coach, but like he's honestly just out coaching everyone.
Yeah.
Every other defensive coordinator in the league. Like, sure, does it help to have Myles Garrett? Absolutely, it does. Like that doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. But what he's doing scheme wise, like he's getting the most out of everybody possible, and that starts with putting guys in the right position. Sure, those guys still have to make those plays, but like as a coach, he's running laps around other defensive coordinators right now. Like this is the perfect role for him.
Well, and it's crazy too. I couldn't agree with you more about Jim Schwartz. Very happy for him to be having success this year with this team, and with Nick Chubb going down. Like I know the defense has that kind of, oh, we need to pick it up now, right? And I see them. They're giving up 188 yards per game, 136 through the air, only 52 rushing, which I think directly crushes Baltimore's game here. Because Baltimore's game is, okay, let's run the ball, let's set up the pass. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to do it against this team. This defense is too good to be able to do that.
Well, I think too with Cleveland's defense, Lamar likes to, and this has always kind of been Lamar's thing. When the play breaks down, he takes off. Cleveland has enough defensively that like they can afford to keep a guy home, aka Myles Garrett, and like Myles Garrett will run him down. Yeah. That's the thing. Like there aren't many guys in the league that could run him down from a defensive standpoint, and he's one of them. Absolutely. And I think that's going to really make Lamar's day difficult.
I agree, man. Like just looking at it, and I know we kind of talked about it before, but the clip of when they were playing against Tennessee, and you could see, okay, the 2 tight ends are following him as he moves on defense, so like from left to right and stuff. They're following him before the play. They ended up not even being able to get the play off, a delay of game because of that. Like, this guy is so difficult to defend. So difficult for an offensive alignment to keep off of their quarterback. He's just the guys that we keep talking about every week, right? Nick Bosa, T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett is in that category. Micah Parsons too, right? Like these 4 guys, they are so good at what they do that if you don't know where they are on every single play, they are going to ruin your game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, what bodes well for Cleveland this week is Baltimore's offensive line's a mess. It really is. And that is Tennessee's line was a mess last week, and look what they did to them. And I think that like Lamar's a bit of a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill, which I know that's not saying much really, but like
he's paid to be.
Yeah. But I really think that when it's all said and done, I think Cleveland is really just going to run defensively all over these guys. Like it's just, I think you're going to see Lamar with the same Ryan Tannehill stats of like 110 yards passing. Like if I saw that at the end of this game, I wouldn't be shocked.
Me neither. Me neither. I expect very low yardage and very few points on the board for Baltimore. I think they're able to keep it close, maybe through special teams, something like that. I just don't. I don't know. And it's not just the Cleveland defense. So we've seen it obviously in New York. New York brings in Aaron Rodgers because they have the defense set. They're saying we're a quarterback away. Cleveland was the first one to basically offer up crazy good money. Jim Haslam. Oh yeah, let me offer up what it was, it 250 million, 250 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson. They bring him in because they say, listen, we've got the defense here. We need a quarterback too. They just weren't as public as saying we've got all the pieces. We just need him. And I don't think Cleveland has the talent on their roster that the Jets do, but the way they go about playing on defense, I don't think they need all the talent that the Jets have. So
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so now I look at Deshaun Watson and I see the way he's playing, and you know what, we're through 3 games in the season right now. He didn't look good last year at all, but coming off this week, he had his best game of the season. Best game in a Cleveland Browns uniform this past week. Dude, he looked fluid in the pocket. He had a few very crisp and good throws. He had a great deep ball to Cooper late in the game. It really, for me, it was good to see him like that because we used to see him like that in Houston, and we just hadn't seen that from him in multiple seasons. Now he starts to play that way. I wonder if it's something that's consistent. I look at it, to miss 6 passes in the game. He was good. He was good, man. Like, he really was.
Yeah, I think I would like to see him be more consistent with it. Last week, it was great seeing that for the first time from him. I need to see him to be consistent with that because I think that's going to be a big part of if Cleveland can kind of make this run, because their defense alone can take them to a Super Bowl. I think when push comes to shove,
If they keep
it's
playing
really
that
like
way. Yeah.
It's really like, excuse my language here, like Deshaun Watson can't fuck this up. Like if he does that, like they're screwed. They're going to be no better than the Jets who can't figure it out.
Absolutely.
But that being said, like the problem that I have with the Browns, and this is the one thing that worries me, they love to fumble the football. God, they cannot hold on to it, and it drives me batty.
Yeah.
It's like the one thing they can't do, and it's maddening.
Yeah. It's sad to see that because a few of the games they played in, they were raining, kind of crappy games. So I know that doesn't help, but you got to be able to hang on to the football. You can't turn it over. And if they don't turn the ball over, their defense is always going to put them in position to be able to put points on that board.
Yeah.
Who do you have for this game?
I have Cleveland. I'm going to say it like I have Cleveland 23-17. I think weirdly Justin Tucker keeps them in this for Baltimore. Like I think this is a game where he boots like 4 or 5 field goals probably. Yeah.
I'm actually very close to you. I have Cleveland 19, Baltimore 17, and I wanted to throw this out there because it's interesting, the team we just talked about before, right? Like Buffalo, great team, high potential on offense. If you look at the standings right now, they got a 56 point differential right now over the teams they beat. Cleveland's at 41, but both are 2-1. So you're looking at Buffalo scoring way more points than Cleveland, but I think it just shows you that it doesn't matter if you win by 30 points or win by 1. Winning in the NFL is winning, right?
Win's a win.
Yeah, exactly. So just real quick, looking forward here to try to figure out, what's going to happen for both of these teams. I see Baltimore here. They go at Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Detroit at home as well, at Arizona, and then home with Seattle. What do you think Baltimore does coming out of this? Like, because we both have them losing this game. Where do you think they go from here?
I don't think they're going to beat Pittsburgh. I think Tennessee they could probably beat, because I don't think Tennessee is good, frankly, at this point. And by then, I think Tennessee is going to make a quarterback change. And I think you're going to see either Malik Willis or Will Levis.
And Will Levis didn't even suit up. He was a healthy scratch this past week.
You're going to see one of them though, because they've got to see. they've got to see what they have for young quarterbacks at this point because they keep investing in them. So we'll see.
Right.
Detroit, I don't think they're going to win. Arizona, like at this point, I don't who the hell knows. That's a team I can't understand. And then Seattle, I don't think that's a win either. Like
Yeah. I think Seattle
if
does
they don't
all the things that Baltimore wants to do better than Baltimore.
exactly. Yep.
It's crazy when
Yeah.
you look at it. They're not running the ball very efficiently, but the more Ken Walker gets the ball, seems the better he gets in the game. Their passing is better. I trust Geno not to turn the ball over as much as Lamar does, and their defense is actually better. So I don't know. And then just looking. You go ahead.
I was gonna say with Cleveland, they're kind of getting this at the right time. They're gonna get a bye next week, and then they have San Francisco, and that is going to be a game of two heavyweight defenses, and I cannot wait to talk about that game in depth in a couple of weeks. Ooh, buddy.
That is going to be such a big test for Deshaun Watson because you're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for that game. And we are really going to get to see, do you know and have a firm grasp of this offense? Or are you and Kevin Stefanski not going to work out? Right? I think that's a big piece of it.
I think that's going to be a game for them that shows me, hey, are you guys actually contenders, or are you gonna like make it to the first weekend of the playoffs and then flame out?
Right.
Like that's what that shows me. That is with that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited. And then they have Indianapolis, which I think they could easily beat. Seattle, I think will be a tough game. Again, decent defense. Again, Arizona, who the hell knows? And then Baltimore again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it will be interesting to see the way what happens in this game and then the way it affects both of these teams going forward. So I think that wraps it up for the two games that we have. I know you wanted to give a quick little shout out to a few of the people that we had, right?
Yeah. So this is our 10th episode. And when we started this, we didn't know how many episodes of this we were going to make. And the fact that we made it to 10 is just insane to us. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Joe, who lives here in Keene, diehard Bengals fan. I used to work with him, and that man would bitch and complain about Marvin Lewis every Sunday when we worked together. And you saw the pain on his face. And then so when the Bengals finally became relevant and good again, like he's the one person I always think about, and it just makes me so happy for him. And he always likes to engage with us. And I just want to give him a special shout out for listening and interacting with us.
Awesome, Joe. Thank you. We definitely appreciate it, Joe. I know I've got a few friends watching the podcast as well, and the thing is, we love what we're doing. So for us, it's something that we're kind of bringing you into our ideas, our phone conversations, and just putting it in front of you guys so you can hear our thoughts on it. I love hearing from people if they disagree with us or if they think what we're doing is good as well. I just personally wanted to give a shout out to my uncle, Roger Myro, who actually put together the beginning clip that we have for our podcast. I think it sounds pretty good, pretty clean, and he actually has his own YouTube page as well, Moonshine Messiah. You'll find it down below on this video description, so that way if you want to check it out, you can check out some of the stuff on there. But we really appreciate the effort he puts into trying to give us good catchy music to attract great people here.
And just super talented musician as well. Like that man can play an instrument like nobody. Like he's just so talented, and you can tell. Yeah. And also just loves playing music.
Yeah, he came to Turkey for my wedding this summer, and he played the saz. First time he ever picked up the instrument, and he's jamming it in ways that people are like, "Holy cow, this guy knows how to play." So very cool.
He was a real hoot, and the only person I've ever seen be able to give it to your dad, Big Ray, in a way that I just didn't know was possible.
Definitely. Well, again, we really appreciate it. We want to thank everyone for watching. I know we shouted out a few people there, but really everyone that watches, we really appreciate it. Definitely keep the comments rolling in. We will be back this weekend with a playoff baseball preview. So some very exciting stuff to dig into there. I know you're pumped about it. I'm excited too. We'll also dig into if you win your fantasy league this weekend. We should know by this weekend, right?
Here's hoping. Hoping. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. As you guys know, baseball is it's a love affair that I have. And I'm excited to just break down the playoffs and just do a deep dive. I think that episode will be out probably Monday morning, East Coast time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, make sure to look for that and give it a listen.
Wonderful. And then again, remember, if you like it, if you love it, drop a comment. If you don't, let us know as well. Email us at thepulsewa@gmail.com. You can find us here on YouTube, and you can find me, Willie Creeman, at Willie Creeman FF on Twitter. Thank you guys so much, Al. I love you, buddy. Another great episode. We knocked it out, number 10, baby.
Whew, we did it, Willie. I love you, man. Take care. Stay safe, man.
All right. Peace.